people in this film have been attacked. These people are not paid. I'm not paid to do any of the things that I do. But we don't do it once or twice and walk away because we've gotten beat up. We've been doing it forever and we'll continue so. Our problem is not that we do something. Our problem is the public chooses not to. Even when informed of the truth, the vast majority of Americans will not do anything on their behalf. And if you doubt me, let me just share this. I defy anyone in this room or anyone watching right now to tell me the accurate number of how many people fought during the civil rights movement, the feminist movement, and all other major movements, the anti-war movement. How many people actively sought to get us out of Vietnam? We had about 135 million Americans at that time. What percentage of the population was it? Under 1%. And the feminist movement, under 0.5%. And the civil rights movement, under 0.5%. At the end of the day, those of us who are activists, social activists, no one appoints us, we're not elected. It's not a positive position, because for anyone who would say, thank you for what you do, there's going to be an awful lot of people who condemn you for what you do, because you remind them of what they're not doing. Everything you saw in this film is still going on. Not a single thing is happening except there's radiation hotspots all over Japan. You see genocide happening because the Japanese government cannot tell the people that the food is polluted, the water is polluted, the soil is polluted. And after 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, a typhoon stayed 3 days and brought that radiation down. Everything is polluted. Where are you going to put 34 million people? Where are you going to relocate them? The economy would collapse, the world economy would collapse right behind it, because it was the second largest economy until China overtook it just last year. What are you going to do with those manufactured goods when they become radioactive? So just lie about it, just like the Russians did with Chernobyl. And 1 million people died because of it, because they didn't get them far enough away and didn't tell them ban all the food, make a gigantic circle. If you're within 100 miles of a hydrofracking well, you are susceptible to having that well pollute your groundwater. Look at the truth. Look at our articles on the truth about hydrofracking and the amount of water it takes. Question: how many people watching right now know how many gallons of water it requires for an Indian nuclear plant down on the Hudson River? 5 billion. A pipe that is bigger than this room is necessary to feed the water. 2 billion fish are killed each year out of overheated water. Solar flares are going to be coming within 12 to 16 months. This is not in dispute. NASA, all astrophysicists in the world know this. Now, solar flares, which are highly radioactive plumes, come off the sun on a regular basis. Normally, when they hit the world, there is a magnetic shield, and like water hitting an umbrella, it flicks them, it dissipates them. But NASA found a hole in the magnetic field 4 times wider than the planet Earth. What's going to happen is we're about to have what is called the Carrington effect, meaning a massive solar plume, one that only happens once every 100 years or so. When this happens, when it comes at about 540 miles per second, or about 20 hours from the time it leaves the sun to hits us, you won't see it. You won't feel it. It'll hit the Earth, and immediately, everywhere it goes, every single piece of electricity will be burned out. Now, right now, if you had a hurricane, tornado, earthquake, that's impact would hit anywhere on the East Coast, or some of those things, like certainly an earthquake or a tornado here, your power lines will be broken. You've got an old ancient grid up here anyhow. Hours or days later, someone would go from a utility shed and they would fix it. They'd put in new lines and conductors, and you'd have electricity back. This doesn't work that way. You have 440 big 100-ton gigantic electrical stations and then substations. It burns it out. What then can be the scenario? Well, if you ask the utility companies not to worry, it won't be bad. Okay, let's hope they're right. On one end of a curve, we have not to worry, solar flares will come and they'll go, and maybe a little bit of disruption. But what about if that's not the case? Where can we go? Let's go over the other side, where I believe the truth is. One moment, you realize all your electricity's gone out. No television, no radio, no cell phone, no computer, no satellites, no toilet to flush, no water out of the sink coming out. All those require electricity. So hours go on. Now mind you, this might come in the wintertime, in which case, where's your heat? Or it can come in the summer, where's your cooling? Now a whole 24-hour cycle goes. Now you're beginning to worry because your refrigerator's defrosting and your freezer's defrosting. So now it's 3 days in and you're running short on water to drink. And you know that if you drank bad water, you can end up like they do in Haiti today with massive epidemic of cholera. So now everybody's running around, and then you start seeing some things you don't like. You start seeing people acting out. They start looking after their own interests, not your interest. The decency and ethics that you thought would be there starting to wane. And now people are panicking. And people are saying, you got to get on the road, better get out of here. And then you realize about 100 miles later, there's nothing but bumper-to-bumper cars out of gas. These guys in the nuclear plant know when the final power goes off, the backup generator's gone, the water's going to come out of the cooling system of those spent fuel rods, and it takes anywhere up to about 59 hours. When it's dry, it explodes, just like Fukushima. At the moment that explodes, life as you know will end forever. It will spew toxic radiation until it's all gone. And at 12 miles an hour, measure how far you are from the nuclear plant, and that'll tell you how long before you get hit with it. The young, the old, the sick will get hit, and it'll be devastating. There won't be any place to hide. The authorities will say, put sheets over your windows, won't work. Radiation is going to come right through every building, concrete, brick, it doesn't matter wood, it's going to get you. New York City will be completely devastated, never be able to live in again. 22 million Americans living within 50 miles of New York will have received radiation, but they will not know they've gotten radiated. It's only when the nose bleeds, as Helen Caldicott said, when they start having vomiting, shaking, and then you start seeing young people die, the children dying, the babies dying. Everyone else will have had a heavy dose of radiation, and if they stay, it'll be a lethal dose of radiation. You'll have the largest number of dead people in world history in a relatively short period of time. There are a lot of us out there. You're not alone. There are millions of us out there at all levels of society, in every profession, working for the betterment of the human race. And we each do things in our own way. Mine is to go after the problem by showing films, making documentaries, the drugging of our children, prescription for disaster, fatal fallout, AIDS Inc. I've done 43 of these documentaries. Look at what you can do now. Be an active part in whatever way you choose. Very much.